Today we're going to do a quick review of the heat topic and just highlight what are the main points of the heat topic so that you can highlight and identify which bits you need to work at and which bits are bits that you really feel confident about already. And then there'll be some follow-up tutorials on each of the individual subtopics and some questions worked through so you can see how exam questions might be answered. First thing with any topic is if we've got a word that describes the topic, we need to know what that word itself means, and so we need to be able to define what heat is in terms of it being energy, to do with energy, and in particular the energy of many particles that make up matter. I need to improve my writing on this thing, don't I? In describing heat energy, we also need to know about some of the other things that are related to heat, but not the same, like, for example, temperature. And this pen doesn't write very well. Temperature, and how temperature is related to heat, and how temperature is related to the energy of the particles. So one of our tutorials would be on how heat and temperature are related. Another tutorial will look at another aspect of what we've looked at within the heat topic, and that's what happens when we heat substances up. And there's two main effects of heating substances up that we've talked about and we need to review, and that is to do with raising the temperature, making things hotter, and one of the key aspects within that is to look at something called specific heat and specific heat capacity. Okay. The other thing that's strongly related with this idea of heating substances up is when we don't change the temperature, but we do change the state of the substance. So it might go from a solid to a liquid, or a liquid to a gas, or if we're cooling it down the other way, from a gas to a liquid, or from a liquid back into a solid again. So one tutorial will look at the effects of heating substances up, we'll look at what happens when we raise temperature, and we'll look at what happens when we change state. And the important term in there is to talk about latent heat, and that's something that we'll come back to, and the equations that link to that. The final aspect that we looked at in terms of the effect of temperature on substances was, or effects of heat, was to do with methods of heat transfer, how heat gets from one place to another, and so you'll need to understand various aspects of heat transfer and the three main methods of heat transfer that you'll be familiar with: conduction, convection, and radiation, and the conditions in which heat transfer can happen in those ways, and the conditions in which heat transfer is impeded by in those methods of heat transfer. So that's just a brief overview of the whole of the heat standard and the things that you'll need to be looking at in your revision of heat.